Hi, everybody. It's Doc and the Con. How are you today? Hope everything is going well with you. We had a beautiful day in Hackensack along the river at the Palatial Estate, and we're here with JS Russell, Jamaris Russell. How are you tonight, my friend?
Man, I'm great. I'm great. Blessed. Just working in this time and everything. A lot of times I am still in the wonder of being free.
I, I I'm I can understand that very well.
Hmm.
I mean, I can understand that from 6 week stays in the hospital or 5 year stays in the program, but I'm sure the feeling is compounded after 12 years. So it's just something you basically have to let in slowly, otherwise you just feel too good, right?
Hmm. Just yeah. I mean, it's things. So many things I've been blessed with. From where I am to the things that I'm able to do. Like we recording podcasts and stuff that I wasn't able to do or didn't even think was a thing. I heard a podcast while I was in prison, but I never really knew much about what exactly was going on. And then to be able to work through my program, not only here but in the jail, working my program with the youth. It's just unbelievable and it's great. I'm thankful for it. So, with that said, I'm going to do some poetry because that's what we do. We always open up with some poetry. And
Yeah.
I'll be reading out my book, April, 30 Poems in 30 Days. And this is one of the works that I wrote. It was the 12th prompt. Never ask yourself. Um, Never ask yourself if it's worth living. Take it from a man with a large prison sentence. We never know what's to come. We never know what we can make happen. We never know who will impact. Life is God's gift to us, and we should do the most we can with it. With all the twists and turns this life is a hell of a journey. I know I'm curious as to where it will lead. Never ask yourself if hurting yourself will help. There's enough pain just living. There's enough pain that you'll experience. You don't need to do it yourself. If anything, you should learn what to do with the hurt. Find out how to use it. If you want to ask yourself something, ask what you're worth. Think about all that you have to offer. Think about all who love you. Think about all who enjoy you. You. You should see you. Beautiful, wonderful you. Unique. Someone who can, someone who no one can ever be. Even if they imitate, it's impossible to duplicate. God made a one of one. It's up to you to do so you can shine in His glory and say, look what we've done.
Beautiful. This is that like so optimistic from the darkness of the pit. It's just like very inspiring, Jamar.
I actually had my daughter in mind when I wrote that because I think she was going through some stuff, where that was more so speaking to her. But
Right.
yeah,
And she's better now. Did you give it to her?
she's cool. I've read it to her.
Oh, good. Yeah, this is where like I think I might have read this one before too. But it's called "I Have Lost My Voice," and it's sort of like a, a desperate cry out against the silence that was surrounding me when I was considered psychotic. So Dale was the chipmunk that roared in his field across the street from where the doctor lived, which now has been subsumed by high rises. But what was Deuster Mansion was secret spot of him, with the voice that echoed across the abyss. Of Summit, over the valley of Lower Hackensack, where Black Skip resides, and he spent many hours in communion with nature there, smoking nature and chronicling the progression of his therapy, often before he was assigned to the rubber room, which was bridge of his starliner, the Dialina, where he met with many other fugitive Dusneys. Some of them were snatched from the street just to be confined for their own safety. In difficult times of world violence, when the earth was verging on the edge of endless chaos, which was arrested only by his detainment during the decade-long crisis era of his psychotic episodes, although in fact the nurses never disputed his sanity. He brought to the mental unit where he did well with fellow inmates, fighting designs of the mind bullies.
Two things, right? I want you to break down the Dialina,
Dialina.
Dialina, and when you mentioned something about being incarcerated for their own safety, right?
Right.
Right, snatched off. I often said that one, I think prison saved me, right? Because either I probably would have caught a federal charge with a lot more time because of some of the stuff I was doing, or I could have ended up being a victim to a crime of violence. And I seen that with a lot of guys that were inside, the way that they moved and they acted. I'm just like, this place is saving you, because it would be disrespectful, reckless, wild guys that I'm just like, somewhere else somebody probably that took you off the board.
Right, right.
You know, but that came to mind. So break down the Dialina.
Dialina. That's
Yeah.
my spaceship. So the Dialina actually is based on a book I wrote in 1978 called. It's second uh, second novel of a trilogy called Velvet Velour's Follies. And Velvet Velour's Follies, Book 2, or The Flight of the Dialina, is, quote, a apocalyptic romance in the shadow of the nuclear destruction possible during the Cold War. So
Mm.
basically, it's it's basically uh, a situation where Dale and Lucy, who I was in 1980, and Lucy was like my true love, my redheaded beauty from Fairleigh Dickinson University, and basically I came up with the idea of Velvet Velour in 1978 when I was in a mental hospital waiting transferred to my mental hospital because that was full. So basically, I met this girl named Kelly Kroshevsky, and she was like the inspiration for the name Velvet Velours. So basically, there are three books in the Velvet Velours Follies trilogy. There's Velvet Velours Follies, or The Lazy Man's Guide to Babies, which is an explanation in Dale terms of Immaculate Conception. And then there's Velvet Velour's Follies Book 2, or The Flight of Dialina, which is the blast off of Dale's spaceship. And the third book is The Last Leg to Ishkabab, which is Rockstar Heaven, which is where the Dialina is headed. So basically, I conceived as a Dialina in 1978 as my spaceship. And basically, for 50 years, I was trying to construct my starship and have it come down and rescue me, like zip me up and take me away from Earth and everything. But what I realized in the last 2 months, Jamar, is that this body is the Dialina, and
Mm.
what happened when I went to the hospital has always been Dialina controlled. That's my mental unit is where I set up the bridge of the Dialina. So, and it's also like a spiritual incubation center. So, basically, I went to the Dialina and took my power back as Daler, and came out of it, and now the dialine is internalized, is a reality uh, in this body, even if you don't see a concrete spaceship. But basically, the dialine is taking over the Earth's operating system and it's being run from here. But this is nothing new because, as you know, Jamar, I've been running things for the last 70 years.
Yeah, man, that's interesting, and it's. I think about the fact that you've been creating works for so long, man. So how many books total do you have?
I have 6 books. I have 6 novels and a memoir,
Six novels.
and a memoir of
Six
my
novels, a memoir, and how many works of poetry?
5,000, at least 5,000, probably more like 5,500 at this point.
See, that's right there. And how many of those works did you publish in the books?
Uh, well, each I published 5 books, and basically each book had between like 70 and 100 poems.
Okay, see,
But
and
so it's minuscule compared to
so
what I
that's
actually have, what
yeah,
I
so
published.
that's 5 books of poetry plus the 6 novels.
Uh, well, no, the 5 books of poetry are actually published on Amazon. That's why but the novels aren't published.
Okay, okay. Well, we gotta work on making sure that all that gets done, man. You gotta
That's
work on your.
exactly
This is how you work on your immortality.
This is exactly what I'm looking into right now, Jamar, and I'm looking forward to working with you to build a big publishing company.
So, one of the things, right, and I still haven't done, and I have to look into it. A guy that also inspired the work that we'll be getting into was telling me while I was in to look into Upworks and Fiverr, right, to get certain things subcontracted to do. Because I had basically, and I could see where I overlooked some things, editing stuff myself, spell checking and stuff
Right,
like that.
right.
And it just happens. It's just that I wasn't working with much of a budget. So as the money changes, then I can go back and revisit all of these things. But it's just a work in progress. So speaking of money, we're going to get into tonight's lesson out of turning adversity to advantage.
Before we
And
move on to that, any questions about the dialina that popped into your head?
nah, I think I pretty much got a good understanding of what it is now that you told me. So,
Well, to be totally 3D Earth is the integration of my 9 personalities into one body, and that body is in control. And basically, even though I've been Dale for basically all my life,
mhm,
I figured out that I'm not schizophrenic. I'm multiple personalities, even though
mhm,
I've been treated as schizophrenic. But basically, uh, all the when I say the dialing construction is complete, it means I've integrated and put together the Lego set of all my 9 personalities.
okay. So the nine, so speaking of the nine, right? I remember this guy. I want to say was it Howard, but Donnell. Anyway, we was incarcerated. He studied Nuwabi. Anyway, yeah, we was studying this. I can't even think about exactly what it's called, but he used to always talk about the nine ether. The nine ether. So while you saying nine, I was just thinking about that. But yeah, so more numbers, more stuff, and going back to what I'll be saying today or going over today, which is do the math.
Right.
So from this series of turning adversity into advantage, all of this was prepared to help the incarcerated population um, to become productive citizens. And so, what we'll do is, and of course, it always starts me from the cover, where I really would have liked to get to the actual chapter of which I was, but I'll just scroll down to that. Uh,
I just noticed something. Did I ask why are why are all the it seems all the prisoners in the on the cover like black?
Um, Actually, that's what the majority was that I was around where I was, and it's crazy because um, the black or African American population in the country is about 12%,
Right.
but where I was in prison was about 40%. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like it was crazy that could be almost a majority in there, and like for real, I'm not even sure what the breakdown was with the Hispanic population and the white population, but it seems like the majority was a minority in there, you know?
Right.
So that was just something, and the artwork didn't wasn't something that I put together. The artwork was done by Drew Wolay, who was also the brother who inspired this work. Um, so I wanted to have him incorporated with this as much as possible, since
I,
that's
I,
what
I,
we
was-
did.
I was just thinking that, to someone outside or even inside the system, it might like, propagate stereotypes, or I mean, just seeing like all black prisoners instead of like at least a little mixture, just something that came to my head, Jamar. You
Yeah,
might.
yeah. Unfortunately, there's certain things that come with that, with stereotypes. Um, Cause I mean, for me, I'll look at who's incarcerated more, who's profiled more, but of course, it's going to all determine about where you are in the country, you know.
Right.
Cause if you're in a spot that's majority white, I'm pretty sure that the numbers will look different there.
Right.
Or if you're in a place that's majority Spanish, or whatever. But um, I think the art was pretty much a representation also of what the brother seen,
Right.
that created the art. So, but you're not the first person that said that, because the actual chaplain did, or pastor, because I'm not sure if if he's even a chaplain anymore, had brought that up. He was saying, this has this on the cover, but what about my Spanish speaking community and stuff like that? I don't want anybody to feel alienated. But
Right.
it wasn't never that intention. It was just using the art, And
Right.
another thing that's great is the same brother will be having an art show in Baltimore on the 30th. So I'll be attending that to be able to support him, because he's been up and down the East Coast doing this thing, whether it's been South Carolina, Florida, New York, So I'll see him with his show.
And how,
So
how far is Baltimore?
from me, Baltimore is a little over an hour.
Not bad.
Yeah, not too bad. About an hour, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So do the math. And last week when we had responsibility, you were asking a question about entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So I'll be able to address this a little on this one. The good man author Sean Gardner, shared with me that I could make 100,000 if I just made $280 a day. I did the math and divided that by 8 hours, uh, divided by an 8 hour day, and saw that it meant that I would have to make $35 an hour. Then I multiplied the $35 by by the 40-hour work week and got 1,400. To check my calculations, I multiplied that $1,400 by the 52 weeks that we have in a year and got 72,800 dollars. That's cool for a year of work, but it's not what I was looking for. That meant I made a mistake by only multiplying $35 an hour for a 5 day work week. Then I multiplied 35 by 56, 7 day work week, and got $1,960, or 1,960. To make sure I was on the right track, I multiplied that $1,960 by 52 and got 101,920. Now I could see where I went wrong. So I took the $1,960 and divided that by the 40-hour work week. This allowed me to see that if I only worked 5 days a week or 40 hours, I would have to make $49 an hour. I began to think there aren't too many jobs that I know of that will pay a formerly incarcerated citizen $50 an hour. But I have heard of guys with their CDLs making $2,500 a week. I also knew that truck driving was in high demand and that having a felony record wasn't necessarily a deal breaker. So taking that path is a reasonable plan to make over 100,000. The fact of the matter is that it doesn't matter which way that we go about making the $280 a day or $2,000 a week. It's just knowing that it's doable. The man I mentioned, author Sean Gardner, is an incredible author. Author isn't his first name. So he thought about how many of his books that he would have to sell to make $280 a day. Some people will have to work a job and have their own business or work part-time to make that goal. The reason why I'm spending time on this topic in regards to writing freedom is because part of the freedom is financial independence or being financially free. When I used to facilitate the Youth Challenge program, the financial portion was one of my favorites because I know how important money management is. We have to analyze the numbers to see if what we plan is realistic. Many of us, because we came in so young, didn't have the experience of paying for rent, transportation, insurance, food, clothes, and etc. We may need 100,000, but okay, it probably was like we may not need, but we may need 100,000, but we will need to know how to calculate how we will be able to support ourselves in a legit manner. Don't forget that Uncle Sam needs his. I always take a third out for taxes when I do my calculations. When we have the time to plan, so let's do the numbers. And the exercise is find out the average cost of living in the area that you choose to live. Example, average cost of living in the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia, is about $5,000 per month for a single person and about 8,000 for a family of four. If you can't do the research yourself, ask someone to Google it. Next, find out what jobs pay a salary that will cover that. Do the research for all of your expenses, and if you don't have an idea of what that may be, ask someone to tell you about all of their bills, rent, gas, electric, car, note, etc. So, I stop sharing and we can discuss that. So that I feel like that's one of the important parts, and not just even transitioning back to society, people period. I had just learned a little about summertime this year, spring, summer, whatever, about the what is it? 50, 30, 20 as far as budgeting. You ever heard of it?
What is that? 50 for yourself, 30 for rent, and 20 for no, 20 for rent, and 30 for taxes, or what?
It was I believe it goes 50% for your living expenses, right? Um 30 for yourself and 20 for savings or debt, you know. So,
Well, what about taxes? You
I
always got to
mean, I
take into
believe I believe the taxes part comes out of the living expenses. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So, but I had never, physically did a budget. Like I, had after that, I was in the wealth management course where I actually had the spreadsheet and started actually playing with that with the numbers. But prior to that, and still even in the process, it's not like I had sat down before and planned out exactly how I was going to deal with my checks and things like that. I kind of just did it in my head, like, all right, I need to pay this stuff off first, and the rest is mine. I mean, not quite in that order because I always had my portion that I would do, like in the richest man in Babylon said, pay yourself first.
Right,
Take
right,
my 10% off. And see, with that 50, 30, 20 is saying to use that, save 20%, which is a little bit more aggressive than what I'm willing to do, but it works out.
right,
Um, and see, with a lot of stuff now, what I'm learning, me coming out, I can't expect myself to be making somebody the same amount that somebody's been out here all this time, getting raises or doing whatever they need to raise their value. It's unfortunate because I managed a $3.2 million contract for the NBA before I left out, but
right,
it didn't. I wasn't getting paid much to do that, and there wasn't like they were going to give me um, the recognition or
right. I recommend.
it wasn't going to equate out here, so it wasn't transferable. And I wish that it was because I still don't lack the experience of running the 11-man team, making sure that the products was out there, making sure that I kept inventory, doing the things that was necessary. It's just that you know I don't have the traditional work history.
Right, right,
So with that being said, it's just getting creative and grinding. So I didn't go to the CDL route, which I initially was going to because I was studying it and went through the process, but I ended up getting this job at the health department. And so that put me in a position where it's a decent enough salary for somebody first coming home, but of course it's still not enough because the cost of living down here is expensive.
right.
So it's not only the job, but then the part-time job. Then there's the business. So
Yep.
it's a little bit here, a little bit there. Save, maneuver, make things happen, and keep grinding because what I have been able to see with my time out here is that things get better with time. You
Right.
know, so I'll
And
be able to
there's
save
also
more.
that satisfaction when like the lock just fits perfectly and everything sort of like opens up.
I mean, and it seems like things are opening up, so it's a beautiful thing.
Right.
So that's the whole thing that I don't think that I've had in my writings, which when I go back, I would have to give that perspective because initially things were tight, very frustrating, you know, and in certain times, and that was one of the things that I prayed over coming into this new year was that I didn't feel restricted by my finances, that I didn't feel
Right.
any type of um, restraint or pressure like I didn't have the funds. And so, you know, um, and that's a process in itself. So these things, just these tools are good, like to think about what it'll take, because a hundred thousand I don't make, but
Right.
that would be a good cushion.
Right. Right.
And it's reflecting on that to me think myself like, how many books do I need to sell,
Right.
you know, to make that 280 in a day, or whatever else that I would need to do. So
But,
those are things.
but the other thing is that when you start making more money, you tend to spend more money.
That
And
too.
that's something you got to be very aware of. You know, if you're looking to
Yeah.
save.
So that was one of the things that I was just talking about with my cousin. I said, okay, with being awarded this grant, right, and my fiscal sponsor had went over with me about what the budget would be. So I I I seen what she projected in the numbers, and I was like, all right, well, I wanted my co-facilitators to have a, get paid a little bit more. So I
Right.
said, look, I'll take less so that, this can happen. And then it opened up some more funds for me, which I'm like, all right, well, if I know that I'll be getting this amount, I want to just put that aside like I'm not getting it, because I have other plans. I want to be able to get into a multi-unit and build wealth in that aspect to where it's starting to open up multiple streams. So I'm thinking long term in terms of that, in which while I was in, I do remember like my mother's boyfriend who paid, he had a duplex, but I didn't know all of the rules, which I think he lost that anyway because he didn't manage that properly. But I didn't know all of the rules in real estate, or how um, a 4 unit is still considered residential. 4 to 5 unit is once you get to 6 or something else that is commercial, then you're dealing with different things,
Right.
um, or the different um, programs that they have, so that I can get a good deal as far as a first time buyer,
Right.
live in an apartment, take advantage of that program, and live in there for the period, the slotted time that they have there, and have the mortgage paid by other people. Just things to
Right.
be able to be comfortable out here. And I believe that's what a lot of people need to think about as far as building their wealth, because like I was discussing in the jail the other day, most crime stems from poverty. And it's not necessarily just poverty or lack of finances, but it's also poverty of the mind.
Mm.
And when you are in those environments, when it's like that, it's hard to shake that, because it's not just a physical thing, it's a psychological thing. And
Right.
so it's those things that have to be built. But like with the exposure with certain things like that, 100K is 100K. You know, there's I don't what it may not be much in New York or LA, but where I'm at, it's decent. Sure, you might get taxed a little bit more,
Well,
but if you know what to do with it, you'll be cool.
we bring up a very good point, which is that poverty is a cycle, and you, in order to break any cycle, you have to be aware of it in the first place. So, that's part of the necessary enlightenment that has to go on. Is judge it. I mean, this is like what my higher awareness that groups have been talking about. It's just like it's not just like a matter of like saying I'm going to make $1 million. You actually have to get your body ready to receive that much money. I mean, not only through a change in mindset, but literally through a physiological change that's initiated in your mind. But basically, I mean, people always use the example of lottery winners who, within a year are like in bankruptcy, and it's just like because they weren't prepared for a sudden great influx of wealth, and so that's another thing. It's just like built, a $49 an hour job is like a pretty prime job to get. So, I mean, you suggested CDLs, and that's a very good idea. But I'm just thinking, like, for someone who's in prison, who's reading this, it might be a little discouraging to think he has to start with a $49 an hour job.
Well, for that, it's more so just having the idea of, one, to do the math to work it out, you
Right.
know, because even when I did it wrong the first time, it showed $35 an hour where it gets you 72, and that's
Right.
still decent. So it's giving people an idea of around what they need to make, and I don't make neither one of those amounts.
Right.
But
Well,
um I'm still able to live out here, pay my rent, pay for gas, pay for things, so it's not that it's impossible with less amount, it's just a matter of making it work and growing and having something to strive to. Because I know that even with getting a CDL, there's a process. Like you may not start out making that much, but eventually you can, depending on what routes you'll take, where you're willing to drive, what areas, and all of that stuff.
well, just as a mental exercise, Bob Proctor, who was like a great, like money guru for like 50 years. I used to follow him a lot, but he always talked about frequency and everything. But basically, he had like a game, and he says he would say million. He would put at the top of the page $1 million, and then he'd
Hmm.
say, "Well, I have to sell 10 things at $100,000 to make $1 million. I have to sell 100 things." You just like go down
Yeah.
until so from 100,000 to like basically $10, and you have to sell 100,000 things. But basically, just as a mental exercise, like put yourself in that idea of like bigger thinking. I always thought that was a good idea. And of course, affirmations are always, helpful too, where you say, this might seem a little woo woo, but a lot of people swear by it. Like just say, I manifest money whenever I want. I'm a money magnet. You
Hmm.
know, but the idea of doing the math is also very important because that keeps it grounded. And that's why I suggested the $1 million exercise. Just sort of like get your practice and thinking about the larger you can think, the more you're going to be able to receive. That's what
So
the
Bob Proctor, which was a big fan of Think and Grow Rich,
right.
which I've read numerous times. Like the affirmation, the visualization, these are things that work on the subconscious mind. And you were saying something earlier about like the lottery winners not being prepared. And in a former lesson, I talked about the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, and all of these things are necessary. Just like setting up a goal after the goal. Okay, you win the lottery, but then what? Like, because a lot of people just want to, oh, I hit the lottery, I hit the lottery. This used to like irk my nerves. My mother's like, yeah, I'm gonna win the lottery and I'm gonna get you out of prison. And I'm like, you don't even play the lottery. Stop telling me that. Like, you can't win something that you don't play. And it's
Right.
just like in life. If a person wants $1 million and they're not willing to put in the work, you won't get that $1 million. Like, you're just delusional. So, um, I had my affirmations, which I still say from when I was in there. I'm free, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm rich. And there'll be another lesson where I'll touch
Say
on
that one more slowly.
I'm free, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm rich. So I will repeat that to myself different times when I may, you know, be a little aggravated or, dealing with some type of whatever. Repeat that to myself. And I'm free, I'm happy, I'm healthy. I'm getting rich about a minute, so
Right,
it's
right.
working.
Yeah,
you know, so, yeah, so those are things, all of these things, the tools, not only did I learn about these things, but I was putting them in practice while I was in. And it's a remarkable thing to be speaking about this now from the outside. Um, this can most certainly be that $100,000 a year. Who knows? I really looking to see about becoming a millionaire on paper, this year. That's what the goal is. And just build off of that. And it's really more so um, a game I'm playing because, excuse me, um, before I got incarcerated, I may have had short of 30,000. Not a whole lot of money for some people, but for a 25-year-old, I think that's all right. you know,
Right.
and looking at it, for the chances and the laws and stuff that I was breaking, it definitely wasn't, worth anything. However, it's just like, all right, I was able to accumulate that in somewhere around 2 year period of time. So I look at that stuff and it's just like, all right, how long would it take me to get certain other amounts? Um, and then on top of that, what are the things that I would have to do all on the legit side? Because that's
Right.
where I'm at right now. It's like, let's do it. So now it's playing the credit game, making sure my credit is good. You know, then it's getting that and seeing what else I really need to do to start shaping the other things that help me put myself in a position to get more money. And it's just that, and I'm learning in the process, but I'm not hurt nobody.
Right.
I'm not breaking no law, and I get to learn by doing, you know. So that's one of the great things now, and I get to share this with some of those guys when I go into the jail, you know,
Mm.
because I know there's a lot of them that, like myself, or maybe more involved in the streets where they haven't really done this. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of times out now where I feel like I'm in unfamiliar territory because this is not what I'm used to. It's
Right.
not something that I've done before, but
Are you
I'm
talking
very
about
much
coming back and like being a role model, or what exactly are you talking about?
living a legit life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the longest that I've had a job before I went to prison was short of a year.
Okay.
I'm approaching year two with the health department. Um, you know, a lot of the things in which I'm doing is more so everything's legit, you know.
Right. Right.
So it's like there's no thought of returning to crime or anything like that. It's just living differently. So learning the laws of what I need to do for my business, like the LLC, the different things that's necessary to register the nonprofit, to keep account of this, to do that. It's like can be overwhelming at times, but that's just because I'm in the beginning.
Are you still doing Coach K at this point or not?
No, so I had I was still paying for the subscription for a while without even attending it, but I end up having one of the banks that I was dealing with that I had with her subscription. They sent me another card because they switched over from Master to Discover or something. So
Oh,
that
okay.
stopped the subscription paying for it, which was necessary anyway because I wasn't as involved.
Right.
Like, and I still will watch her podcast sometimes to learn from, and I follow some of the stuff but I just haven't been really dedicated to that, and that was part of my problem. Once it was those list of 17 things to structure the business, I still hadn't completed everything that I needed to go on to the next step and grow because I was still dealing with transferring into, this whole transformation and this whole re-entering society thing.
So this was very weird, but I basically dropped out of the community, and after about a month, I got a call from Coach K's mother.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, she called me and said, "Where you been?" And it's like, I don't know. I just, but it was, and we had a very nice talk and everything. But it was
yeah,
like Coach K sent her mother to re-recruit me, so I felt very flattered, but I didn't really go back.
yeah. One of the things that I've been seeing a lot lately, and we might have to, 'cause, um that we'll have to see is that they keep talking about wanting poetry or poets on school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking to do that.
Are you talking about like a separate account on school, or
Yep.
you talking about?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about creating my own because they said that they're looking for poets to create a community. So I'm thinking about that maybe.
Who's they you talking about?
The school, like it comes up on the Instagram, like it talks about school wanting poets and creating a community or something.
Are you talking about
S K
SKOOL?
O O L. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that's the app. I never
yeah,
saw that. Yeah, I never saw that.
yeah. So I'm considering that, maybe somewhere down the line, just doing something where share the poetry. Think about that. You have 5,500 poems that you can do
I know.
and
I'm
get people
ready.
interested in
I
you.
am
Yeah,
ready, Kumar. I'm ready to like, you know, I'm ready to claim my title as world's greatest poet.
there you go. So that's maybe something that we could think about or talk about sometime in the future is, doing stuff with these bodies of work. Like I probably have maybe 10% of what you have, you know. So, but I definitely have the work, and I haven't wrote or written any poetry in a while. So that's something that I have to do, get back into. It's just right now, just working and grinding to get this writing
I,
form.
I think I told you this one, but this is like basically the latest poem I wrote. Is I radically changed my style, but it's called "Walk Strolling Towards Happiness and Eternity," and it goes walking hand in hand. I'm oblivious to the pricks my rose gives me.
So, how is your rose?
My rose is just fine. She,
Okay, okay.
I'm planning something big with roses. It's the year before July 4th, or actually
Okay.
before my birthday. I'm, I'm just like gathering my forces to get my finances together so I can like really treat her right.
Okay. Okay. That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, yeah, so it's a lot of these things challenged, but the wonderful thing, man, have so many tools out here to help assist with doing the math, with
Yeah, yeah,
breaking things down to learn how to really see things. Like even when it comes to so last summer I went to Belize, and that even in itself was a little intimidating trying to figure that out. It's like, all right, well, I'll need this amount to pay for the plane tickets. I'll need this amount to pay for the spot where we're staying in, and the rest of the stuff. But it was like planning it out ahead of time and
right,
being able to have a strategy. I was able to do it, so I was thankful for that because the experience was priceless. Like,
right.
sure, the trip cost something, but to be actually be out there and to check a box, it was just great.
Well, I just yeah. So another thing that I always hear people say this is nice to do, good to do. I never have the discipline to do it. Is just keep track of where every cent goes. I mean, like carry around a little notebook, and that way you can like really budget because I mean, you don't have to do it every day, but you have a running record of where all your money is going because I think a lot of people just like squander away money because they have it and they don't know where it ultimately goes and they just waste it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I was having a conversation about that, but that's part of where the budgeting comes in. You know, and then of course trying to continuously increase income.
Right.
You know, figuring that way. To have more and because I know like I fought it for a little bit of having only one job, Until I just gave in. I'm just like, look, it's not gonna work. And people have to be creative out here, which I've learned. Like, um, I I don't. I think the majority of my coworkers have two jobs or have a
Right.
job in a business. It's just that's what it takes. So people have to do multiple things to supplement their income to be able to support themselves and live the way that they want to. And what I would like to do is just do a lot right now so I don't have to do a lot later.
Right.
you
Well,
know.
well, the thing is that, you know, you have to look at your resources and your assets and really come to a conclusion of what you can offer the world. You know, whether it's a
Mhm.
service or a creative project like poetry but basically you have to be aware of your talents and your abilities. And, I mean, I've been sitting on an archive of basically 6 books, 7 books, and 5,000 poetry for 50 years. And, you know, actually, I did get like copies of my first book, Slick Dynamo Circus, or The Thinking God's Guide to Frisbee. And I got like 10 copies of that made one time when I was in Hackensack, and the guy who published it, he just like Xeroxed it, but he brought me 10 copies, and he said, yeah, I just published Dale's book. Read it for 10 minutes and go back to it in 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. So, I had been given that opportunity, and that reminds me, I gotta reach out to these people. It's supposed to be an event, um, the 24th. When they're trying to highlight different authors and stuff like that. I'll
Right,
pay for a table. I'll bring some copies of my books and, just go and tell and, sell my books and tell the people about what I'm doing. And so it's good to have a product, you know, and I'm not bringing all of my books because I don't want to overwhelm people with various choices. And then I've actually got to see what sells the most, like the books that actually have me on the cover
right,
do
right.
better than the other books. So
Okay.
it's like you saying, paying attention to what's going to happen, whether it's the service that's going to bring in the more money, the product, different things to be able to direct that time and energy. So, but right now, doing a little bit of everything until I really get it honed in onto that one thing.
Well, you just made me think of something that I gotta do, which is order hard copies of my books. I you know usually I order like in bulk, like get 10 to 20 copies of each book at a time, and just have like a surplus of books in case people want to read them. But uh, yeah, so. I've been talking about producing a new book for like a year and a half, and I'm getting tired of hearing myself talking about it. I think I'm going
So
to do it.
let's make it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so you got a poem for us?
Actually, I do. This is uh, this is back to the entering New Year of Do. Uh, let me see which one. Uh, Okay, well, this one is rather whimsical, I think. So it's called "Materialism is Not My Thing." I've no great need or desire for money, for illness in this way makes me funny. Since instead of cash, I'd like to live lifelong love, as my health is in heaven's bank above and my needs for this existence are met. But I've no true amour touching my heart, although about this lack I cannot fret, because the fact is the core of my art, which is based on passion unrequited. Despite truth, I've known many fine females, about whom I could tell some secret tales, in addition to those I've just cited. So I would prefer the bliss of romance than to have a lottery than to have a lottery win a chance.
You're a lover, huh, man?
Absolutely.
So this is
24-hour day orgasm, Jamar. That's my ambition. I just want to like retire everybody and put them in their house and make them make love to their significant others for like endless hours on end. So, and nobody comes to work. Everybody just plays around and produces babies.
hey, there we go. There we go. Sound like fun to me. So this the 15th prompt out of this book, and it had to do with doing a poem with a letter, right?
Okay.
So I chose J, my first name. Well, that's what it starts off with. J, the first letter of my name, the 10th letter of the alphabet. 1 plus 0 equals 1, one and only. J, January, New Year. J, June, July. Summer's here. J, Jesus, Word made flesh. J, Jah, Rastafari. Rap gods. Jay-Z, Jada, Jeezy. J looks like a fish hook. I'll make you fishers of men. J, Jolly, Jubilation, Jubilee. Jew, Amen. No gin, no jealousy. Just us. Word to my nephew, Justice. J. Jules, Just Ice. Aunt Dolly, Jewel, first name. J's, Jordan 5s, my fave. The only ones I had, besides a pair of Jumpmans. Jump, man, crisscross. Smoke in my jaws. I used to smoke J's until I was lost. Paranoid, mute, happy, hungry, sleepy. Passed out, Jules, energy. Jolly Ranchers candy. In the joint now, but when I get free, I'm going to fly like a blue jay. You should join me.
Blue Jay.
Yeah. So we about that time and coming to the end.
I
You
think
know.
we're a deal. Yes, Jamar. I think we've had a successful episode, and I always find it funny that we call them episodes.
Yeah. What kind of episode we
Having had
having today?
15 episodes, real episodes, I find it funny we call it episodes. You
Yeah.
know.
How about that?
But okay, everybody. Well, hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for joining us. Put in a like, subscribe. We're looking for people to follow, and we're here as often as we need, as every week at least. And Jamar, any closing thoughts or anything about do the math?
Um, just think it out. Be able to break down the numbers. Think about what it is that you want. You can do the math forward or backwards. And then the rest of it is putting in the work. Just having an idea as to the goal that you want to have and how you'll be able to afford it. So make a game out of it. Make it interesting. Find the thing that's going to produce the income, and live happy.
And just to reiterate what you said about but also not only calculate the salary and the income that you want, but also find out the cost of living where you want to be, because
Hmm.
that's essential in order to really realistically anticipate what your income needs are.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody. Well, have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
All right.